Did you hear about the guy who was afraid of hurdles? He got over it. Nothing? All right, back to the countdown.
Did you hear about the guy that was afraid of hurdles? He got over it. That's funny, Emilio. So welcome to another weekly episode of Getting Certified, our weekly live broadcast where we talk about earning one of the RBLP leadership certifications. We try to answer a unique question each week. This week, the question that we're addressing is, what is resilience building leadership? That's what our discussion will be about today. I'm joined by Mark Holman and Tony Savoli. Come on in. Hey, Mark. Hey, Tony. How are you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
No worries. If I had guitars, if I could play guitar, I would probably, so everybody knows that's a real, that's his real background.
It's not a proper.
That's not a fake thing to make it look, like I used to use one that had a piano in the background, and I had somebody ask one time in the comments, who plays piano? Nobody here. But that's a real, because you actually play guitar, right, Tony?
Yeah, I do, and maybe every once in a while you may hear something on the RBLP website. Hear a little jingle.
What? Hear a little jingle. Good. All right. So listen, today we're broadcasting live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram. Now check us out, Insta. So people are picking us up on their Insta or their Finsta. You know what a Finsta is? You probably know, Tony, because you're a decade younger. Mark, do you know what a Finsta is? That's a fake Instagram.
Right.
A fake Instagram that young people sometimes create so they can connect with like their parents and other people. And the parents think they're keeping an eye on their Instagram activity or what they're posting, but that's really their Finsta, their fake Instagram. That's a thing.
That's right.
So I don't know, maybe, yes, I don't know if anybody's following us yet on their Finsta. We do have a few followers on their straight up Instagram. So we're broadcasting live out there. So if you're listening if you're tuning in today, throw in the comments of the platform that you're tuned into. Let us know what city and state you're at. And if you have any questions about getting certified, the RBLP Leadership Certifications Program, how it all works, you can feel free to put those in the comments as well, and we'll try to get after that answer. So, what is resilience building leadership? That's like probably the biggest question of all, right? Folks wonder, how did we come up? Why? How did we come up with that? What was the sort of the impetus or the origin of that? And so we're going to address that. We're going to address that today. So for folks out listening, we also have an article on our website in the Community Insights section that addresses this topic. I think we've added that in the comments of this live broadcast, at least on LinkedIn. We did. I don't know about the other channels, but there's a link to that article, and it's pretty easy to find. But I suppose that we'll start off by saying that the best managers, whether you're a frontline manager or more experienced or even a senior manager in the upper levels of an organization, the best managers build and lead resilient teams. And a resilient team is one that can get the work done despite the adversity, despite the challenges. They can still get the work done. And then more importantly, get better and better at what they do over time. So resilience building leadership is about building and leading resilient teams that can get the work done. Importantly, resilience building leadership is about outcomes, not methods. And that's because this came from a job task analysis that we did back in 2018 and 2019. More on that in a few minutes. But resilience building leadership is about outcomes, not methods. So resilient teams are an outcome. Getting the work done in an organization is an outcome. methods that I'm talking about are things. Or what are some other, Tony, Mark? What are some other, when people talk about types of leadership, especially leadership types that sort of originated in academia, in a book or a paper or something that somebody wrote versus job task analysis of what really happens in the real world. But I'm thinking about like authentic leadership is fairly
Right.
popular, right? What else?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's servant leadership, adaptive
Servant
leadership.
leadership,
These are all the
situational leadership,
textbooks.
right?
Yep.
Compassionate
Yeah,
leadership. I've heard a whole litany of
Empathetic
empathetic.
leadership. So what we mean by this is that all of those things that we just said, authentic, having a servant's heart, being empathetic, being situational, and how you approach it. These are all methods that people approach leadership by. These are methods. These are not outcomes, right?
Right.
Building and leading resilient teams, resilience building leadership is an outcome. The outcome is a resilient team that can get the work done despite adversity, despite challenges in the workplace, get the work done and get better and better at what they do. They not only get through the challenges, but they learn from the challenges and get better. They not only overcome the adversity, but they learn as a result of that and get better and better at what they do. So the closest thing in academic literature is probably transformational leadership, for those that are familiar with the tenets of transformational leadership. But even that is that's an outcome, an individual outcome, sometimes a team outcome, that the team is transformed. But again, to what end? The end state is what organizations need are teams that get the work done. Organizations created leaders. Organizations back in the beginning of time put people in charge to get the work done. So resilient teams are characterized by their ability to maintain high performance under pressure, to recover quickly from setbacks, find opportunities for growth and challenges, right? The hard times are an opportunity to learn, right? And so resilient teams work collaboratively, leveraging the strengths and perspectives of each team member to tackle problems and get the work done. And building and leading resilient teams is a responsibility, an essential capability for managers in today's dynamic and often unpredictable world. Getting the work done is what leadership is all about. And we know this because of the job task analysis that we did in 2018 and 2019, where we ask leaders in a variety of industries, what are you doing day in and day out to build teams that can get the hard work done and get better and better at what they do? And what came through with that was this idea that these are resilient teams. These are teams that get the work done despite the adversity, despite the challenges. They get the work done, and because of that adversity, they are given opportunities to learn. Right, Tony? What doesn't what is it? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right.
Yep, that is true. And when you face those tough times, face that adversity, you usually come out better, and you learn from it. As you said earlier, you have to learn from these experiences in order to get better, right? And resilience is it's one of those terms where, ultimately resilience is, facing a hard time, facing adversity, and coming out for the better. That's the simple definition. A lot goes into it. If you look at all the leader tasks and supporting concepts throughout the curriculum, they are all involved in that resilience, right? You need those supporting concepts in order to be able to lead that resilient team. One of the concepts or the tasks that RBLP curriculum talks about is a leader has to, be there when the going gets tough. And this is resilience, right? What is resilience? We said facing a tough time. If you're not there during those tough times, how do you build that resiliency? How do you lead that team through those tough times if you're not present? So that's just a really bottom line up front of, hey, if you want to be leading these resilient teams and building them, you have to be there for the tough times, and you have to exhibit all those other underlying tasks that we mentioned, everything that we talked about, those leadership, the empathy, all that stuff rolls into how do you build that resilient team to get that outcome that you want, as you mentioned.
Exactly. And Mark, this is about collective resilience, right? A resilient. This isn't about individual resilience, not about mindfulness and, eating right and taking your vitamins and getting sleep and all of that stuff, right? This is about this. We did a job task analysis in 2018 and 2019 about what leaders are doing in the workplace to build teams that can get the hard work done, right? And get better and better at what they do. And from that, that's a resilient team. And that's the way we started identifying it at that point. Resilient teams get the work done and they get better and better at what they do. But it's not about individual resilience, right, Mark?
No, absolutely not. And people very often, and I understand when it's new to folks and they're approaching it, they might get it twisted up. They might think it's about that. It's not. It's absolutely not. And because every day to day, there's no one leader who's ever going to get everything done in the workplace. That's impossible. That's why
work is a team sport, right? Work is a team sport.
I mean, I've never seen anybody go to the Super Bowl and the coach made all the great plays and everybody sat on the bench. That's not how it works, right? They got to go in there and get the work done. That's what teams do day in, day out. And they have to be supported. They have to understand that we're going to do this together. It's not anybody on an island and hoping they win the prize of getting everything done for the whole team. That's not what it is. We all work together and pull together in the same direction. So,
yes, and there's an organization. The reason so many organizations appreciate our certification and what we're certifying folks on. Again, remember, certifications are about proving what you know. They're about proving your knowledge and skills and experience, and that's what we do during our oral exams. Folks prove their knowledge, skills, and experience by demonstrating their factual, conceptual, and procedural knowledge, the what, why, and how of building and leading resilient teams. Organizations want to recognize, they want to know who the leaders are that are doing that. And listen, there are millions of leaders in all kinds of industries across the US and Canada that are doing exactly this. They are working together with their teams. They view work as a team sport. They're right in there with their team and they're getting the work done and they're getting better and better at what they do. So lots of people are already doing this. They may not understand the underlying framework. They may have learned it all by experience. They may be doing each one of these. When they take one of our exam prep courses taught by our authorized training partners, they get them ready for the oral exam. They learn about the framework. They learn about creating a positive climate, about developing cohesion, about providing purpose, about facilitating team learning. And by team learning, we don't mean team training, but team learning from their experience, getting around that experiential learning cycle of getting the work done, and then reflecting on that and figuring out how do we do that better and better over time. Football coaches get the work done on Sunday afternoon, right, with the team. They get the work done, and at the end of the football game, they don't say, "Okay, fellas, I'll see you next week in Kansas City." That's not how it works. They say, "I'll see you back home on Tuesday." And on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's practice. It's about getting better and better at what they do. And that's what organizations need out of their managers. There are lots of managers out there that are doing that. Our certification exams allow them to demonstrate that knowledge and skills and experience and earn the certification that says for certain that's what they're doing. So organizations need managers that can get the work done and get teams to be better and better at what they do. Agreed. Tony, you hear stories as the chief learning officer and giving some exams yourself and watching the recorded videos of others. You hear a lot of great stories of leaders.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that you hear from what's going on out there. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard the saying, teamwork makes the dream work, right? And it does. As you said, it's teams are the ones that get things done. Today's problems are pretty complicated. They're pretty complex. So it takes more than one person to get it done. You do need somebody to lead through that process. And that's what we're talking about here in building that resilience. When you go through that learning cycle, right? Somebody needs to understand how to effectively lead a team through that. When when a problem arises, you don't ignore it, you talk about it. So the leaders have to be the ones that set that environment that, hey, it's okay. We know, your first time you do something, you usually make mistakes. It doesn't go as well, but you have to understand that and you have to get through it. And that leader has to be the one that coaches that team through that process. And when you get through that process, you can all come together and look back and say, wow, yeah, man, we hit a little stumble, but we talked through it. We worked it out. And guess what? Now we're better off for it. We built our resilience through that issue because you have a leader that understands the process of getting a team through that cycle.
Yeah. So learning and change is what undergirds this entire idea, right? And listen, there are very few organizations that are not going through organizational change. Many at a really fast pace. Others it may be slower, but indeed change is happening. It's kind of like change or death, taxes, and change, right? It's coming. Get prepared for it. Emilio, can you share on the screen the article that we have on our website? I'm going to go through, scroll down to the types of adversity, some examples of workplace adversity. And I'm going to go through some of these real quick. So here's, if you've encountered, if you're out there, if you're a manager, if you're listening to this, and you've encountered this in the workplace, and you, together with your team, have overcome this type of workplace adversity to get the work done, and in fact have learned from that adversity, from those challenges, to get better and better at what you do, then the RBLP series of leadership certifications is for you. And so some examples of workplace adversity include periods of high demand or tight deadlines can lead to burnout and stress and decreased job satisfaction among employees. I mean, who out there hasn't had with their teams, hasn't had to deal with high demand and tight deadlines, right? Interpersonal conflicts, harassment, discrimination in the workplace that may be causing a toxic environment can affect team dynamics and morale. That is a form of adversity in the workplace, right? Here's one that everybody's familiar with: the rapid pace of technological advancements. Even here at RBLP, integrating technologies into what we do, using this StreamYard system for our live broadcast, using HubSpot as our customer relationship management tool, using the Credly badge system to now deliver our the certificates that you print and hang on the wall, to deliver those electronically instead of sending them through the mail, which isn't quite effective because the post office seems to lose about half of what we send out. So we deal a lot with that here. That's a type of adversity. Mergers, acquisitions, restructuring is adversity. Increased competition is a type of adversity, right? I know for a fact folks, some of the videos of exams that I've watched have talked about the adversity of layoffs, downsizing in certain organizations, and how managers handled that, right? And there's a few others there. I would encourage people to go and take a look at that. It rounds out with new laws and regulations can require organizations to overhaul processes and so forth. Right now, the federal government is going through a lot of change because of the new administration. There are new policies being put in place. That is creating a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges. Yes. And those are not bad. That's the way things are. Things change all the time in government and nonprofits and for-profits and all types of organizations. Things change. And teams of people that get the work done have to work their way through those challenges. So government employees are going through a lot of that now, right? I mean, that was in the news. That was in the news this morning. I'm certain, Tony, it was some of the exams that we're going to give in the months ahead. The government employees that earn one of our certifications are no doubt going to be using examples of that type of adversity in the workplace. Are there any patterns, Tony, that you've seen, or would you say that the challenges and the tough times and adversity that you hear about, teams working together to get through, kind of run the gamut of all of those that are listed in that article that we drafted?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, a big part of it, as you mentioned, is change, right? The only constant is change, and when you as a leader leading these teams understand that change happens at both an individual level before it can happen at the organizational level, you are able to deal with that at your team level and get the team on board with whatever the changes are. And it said, if you want to learn and grow, you have to change, right? If you don't change, you just stay where you are and you can't improve. So if a team just continues to operate the way it is in its environment that it always is, there's no growth there, right? You have to face those challenges. You have to be exposed to the change. And the changes that people face are, as you said, a lot of examples recently are, going, towards that government side with the recent election, because, sometimes there's that emotional attachment that people have to things. And I said, that's that individual change that we're talking about. But as a leader, when you can effectively deal with them from, learning about, the leader tasks and supporting concepts that help get you through it, you can manage that. And that's done through that experience, that experiential learning that we talk about at RBLP. So going through those experience helps develop that leadership, helps build those resilient teams, and helps you deal with the change and helps you learn and grow as a team.
Absolutely. And the framework of competency domains that we discovered as a result of the job task analysis: create a positive climate, develop cohesion, provide purpose, facilitate team learning, and then support organizational learning. Give folks a framework to understand all of their leader follower experience that they've been through. Just like when folks study for a project management certification, even if you've been doing project management for years, revisiting the project management framework that came out of the job task analysis that the Project Management Institute does brings you back to basics and gives you a structure to operate within, a structure to communicate to others how you're getting the work of managing projects done, for example, right? So folks that do the exam prep course, that gets them ready to sit for our oral exams will definitely learn about the framework, that 5 competency domain framework that I talked about, and how the things that they've already been doing in the workplace fit within that framework. That's very empowering. And we've talked a lot about building and leading resilient teams. One of the things I want to close out with is that resilient teams are the backbone of a resilient organization, right? And so as folks move from frontline manager into more experienced manager roles, and then eventually into what is typically called a senior management role, something that's a bit higher up in the organization, where you start thinking about enterprise-wide solutions, enterprise-wide challenges. It's not just about building resilient teams, but about bringing all of that together to collectively build a resilient organization, right? You want your organization to be more like Netflix and less like Blockbuster.
Amen.
Because
Blockbuster refused to change. They did not want to get into it. They said, we'll beat all that technology nonsense. And what happened?
Right. So building and leading resilient teams, which is the backbone of building and leading a resilient organization, which nobody does by themselves. Nobody builds a resilient. You may have the major influence on building a resilient team with leader tasks. Building a resilient organization requires lots of managers doing the right thing to facilitate organizational learning, to support learning and change within the organization. Right, Tony? Knowledge emergence, knowledge diffusion. What are we learning down at the team level? That's why we call it the backbone of a resilient organization. What are we learning down there that should be recognized at the organizational level and then adopted as the way to do things across the organization? Doesn't do any good for someone to learn a lesson that has organizational impact if the organization doesn't pay attention to the lesson that was learned. You probably hear about that as a negative example sometimes during exams, right, Tony? Folks say, well, we figured this out over here, but for whatever reason, higher headquarters, the upper echelons of the organization, the corporation, didn't want to recognize what we had learned here. And for that reason, the rest of the organization struggled for far too long to solve a problem that we had already solved locally. You probably hear that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation around. It's mostly in that aspect of that it wasn't successful. It was hindered, right?
Right.
So people learn something new, they try to get it out, and a lot of times, something new that comes out, people, look at that as a threat, right? We're like, oh no, we already do it this way and it works. Why are you trying to cause trouble and present these new ideas? And even though it's provides more value, it doesn't get out because people don't want to share it. A lot of times information is siloed in large organizations. There is no mechanisms that spread that information across it. And some people learn something new and they say, oh, you know what, this is going to give our team that competitive advantage. So there's almost an internal struggle with organizations where they don't want to share information because they feel that it gives them an edge, right? But it's the organization it's we're all in the same organization. Let's work
Right.
together. Let's find ways to share that new knowledge, let it emerge, let it take foot in that organization, and let it provide the value, right? Because we know that most of the learning in an organization is bottom up, right? Everybody, those frontline workers, they're the ones getting their hands dirty. They're deep in the weeds. They're the ones figuring things out, right? So we have to leverage that learning from those individuals and teams and let that flourish up through the organization and then out and then back down.
Yeah, you're right. The entrenched mental models that people hold on to are their detriment. That is the thing that will crush them, their company, their organization. You got to let go of the past and move forward.
Yeah. And, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it is a common refrain. But the fact is that the best managers aren't just trying to fix things that are broke. The best managers are trying to take processes and procedures and products and services from good to great. So just because something is working doesn't mean that it can't be fixed. We'd never have an Olympic champion if they approach the world from that perspective. When a football team wins week 5, they still hold practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday before traveling to the next city to get better and better. So it's about going from good to great. Which is, by the way, the title of a good book out there if you want to read it, by Jim Collins. So it's about going from good to great. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it isn't something that that's tolerated well in organizations that are building resilient teams, getting the work done, and getting better and better at what they do. Or here's the other one too, right, Mark? That's not how we do it around here. When a new manager comes in and attempts to, because often a new manager has a fresh set of eyes, right, and they see things differently, and they may have some good ideas right away, but are sometimes met with that's not how we do it around here. Yeah. And that's resistance. All change models. The key to change is team learning, as laid out in the competency domain that we identified by doing the job task analysis. Change isn't about checklists. It's not about, it's about getting around the experiential learning cycle, learning each time you go around it as a team collectively about what you can change and make better. And it's about orienting on team goals. It's about encouraging constructive dialogue, and it's about building new mental models around the change. That's how change doesn't take place, isn't done until people build new mental models around it, right? Till they can't even remember the way it. What
was the old way we did it? What did we used to do?
Yeah, when you can't. So okay, so I think we did a pretty good job at answering the question, what is resilience building leadership? It's about building and leading resilient teams that can get the work done. And more importantly, they get that work done despite the adversity, despite the challenges, and they learn from those. They get better and better at what they do. We didn't make this up. This is not the invention of anybody here at RBLP. Resilience building leadership is the result of the job task analysis that we did in 2018 and 2019. Resilient is just the description. It's the adjective, right? It's the description of how the team performs. It's an outcome. Right. It's about getting the work done despite adversity, despite challenges, and getting better and better at what you do. That's what a resilient a team is. That's what a resilient organization is. And by the way, the definition of a resilient organization is the same as a learning organization. So for anyone that's learned anything about what a learning organization is, learning organizations are resilient. They get the work done and they learn from their experience. Right, Mark?
Absolutely. And if there was one request, which I appreciate everyone's involvement, please do not refer to it as resilience-based leadership.
Yeah, it's not resilience-based.
Not resilience-based. It's resilience building leadership. That's what we're focusing on.
Resilience building leadership. It's about building and leading resilient teams. Doesn't have anything to do with individual resilience and eating right and those type of things. That's all great, but that is a different that's a different thing. This is about work outcomes, getting the work done, teams that can get the work done. So okay, do we have Emilio, you have anything else we need to share with our listeners? I guess they can find the recording of this. Where at, Emilio?
Well, we can find it on YouTube in our archives. You can also listen to it on Spotify. Again, if you need a soothing voice at night to fall asleep to, you can always listen to Mark, Dr. Tony, and Dr. Gene. They'll put you right at ease, relaxed, and just go right into REM state. I will state for the fact that I know you mentioned Tony's background. This is actually my real wall as well. All the instruments I play is back there. And I take exception to the Blockbuster comment. You're looking at the assistant manager of Blockbuster Enterprise in 1996. I told them we should do something more. They went DVDs, and that's as far as they went. But I did my best that way.
And you did. Good for you.
I tried. They went that way. I will say that you can also find us on all social media platforms as usual, like, follow, and share, of course. And then I'm going to bring back Meet the Certified. So if you guys are certified already, I'll put a post out there tomorrow. We'll start making, it won't be live. It will be just you and I having a conversation, but we'll bring it back, Meet the Certified, so we can start talking to people who are certified already and get to know you better and see how that goes. But besides that, we have all our platforms are there. Everything. If you need a platform, let me know. I'll get the team on it, and we'll get it on that too. If you live in some oddball thing, we'll try that too.
Some of those certified people might make it all the way to our Getting the Work Done show on Thursdays. Isn't that right?
That's very true. That's very true. So we'll do an easy conversation with us, and then the harder, impactful.
We may have you on the live show where we talk about. There's a reason we call that show "Getting the Work Done," right? Because that's what that's the role of leaders together with their teams to get the organization's work done. That's an outcome. Resilient teams are an outcome. Getting the work done is an outcome. Resilience building leadership is based on outcomes. It's based on the leader tasks and competency domains that actually help get the work done for the organization that you're in. And that's why the certification is popular, and that's why so many folks are earning the certification. All right. I don't know what the topic is going to be next week. We'll announce that sometime prior to next Tuesday's show, but we're planning on same time next Tuesday. Is that right, Emilio? Next Tuesday we'll be there. Now listen, next Thursday we're off, right? Because I'm traveling. Getting the work done, I think, on the February, the week of around the 5th or 6th is we're not going to be doing that one live because I'll be traveling out to New York to meet with one of our partners, Elite 9 Talent, Mr. Chris Thomas, owner operator of that organization, and we'll be participating in a conference they're having on organizational culture and change there in upstate New York. Happy to do that and looking forward to it. So getting the work done that week, but we'll
unless Mark and I pirate it that night, and we just come live.
You guys feel free to do it without me, and I'll.
We just vent the entire time.
Right, absolutely.
Talk about everything. We just get it all out there.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Getting Certified, and we'll see you next Tuesday at the same time on the same channels for another edition.
All right. Thanks.
RBLP, Learn more, lead better.
What are you guys still doing here? You guys follow me? I'm just trying to get some chicken feed. Check us out on YouTube and Spotify and our social media. See ya.